everyone, and welcome back to this video. As you can see here, I'm slowly beginning to get through the epic, the musical blankets. Here I have the Circusy Saga all set out. I have this one all done. This one is for the Underworld. That's all done. And then up here is the Troy Saga. I might change this, but it will most likely stay as the Troy Saga. And then this one, I forget what I have this one for. It might be the Vengeance Saga. But this is all in the pattern that I have for sale on my Etsy page, which is linked down below in the description. I will have it on the screen for what this one is specifically for, but I think it's the Vengeance Saga, like I said, or the Wisdom Saga. I'm not sure right now. Okay, so we're being cozy right now. And before I show the progress I've made with the epic musical blanket, I do have to switch up two of the yarns and for like two of the sagas, and it's like a really quick fix, really quick. So I'm just gonna do that right now, and then I'll show you the update for where I'm at with the blanket. Okay, so it's these two that I'm switching up. Let's see. I'm gonna do the hook size first. Oops, undo that. Okay. So this should be 6. And then I also have to go down here, and then let's do this. Everything's even. Now, the reason for that was because as I've been working through those two cakes of yarn, Macchiato Cake and Breathe, and then Cloud Cake and Lagoon, as I've been working through them, I've realized that it just ended up working better if I reverse the two with their respective sagas. So it is. It's part of pattern making. It's part of just making anything, especially if you're using multiple different types of yarn to represent specific things. And in this case, in the case of the Epic the Musical blanket, I did go for multicolored cake yarn from Caron Cake, from Caron brand, Caron, however you pronounce it. I did use them specifically so I wouldn't have to worry about yarn changes. And because I'm making this a pattern with the intent for it to be beginner friendly, I didn't want people to have to worry when they purchase the pattern about yarn changes if they're not so familiar with yarn changes. But with all that out of the way now, let me give you the update for where I'm at in the blanket. Okay, so with this, I haven't laid it out in the full 3x3 layout, 3 square by 3 square layout. I've just done like the 3, just to give you any idea of roughly how it'll look. So, Troy Saga. I haven't started working on the Cyclops Saga. Ocean. Circe. Underworld. Thunder. And then it's the Wisdom Saga. And then Ithaca. So I am currently working on the Wisdom Saga. And then I'll just need to do the Cyclops, Thunder, and Ithaca sagas. So this is roughly how it's looking. Sorry, it's gonna get a teensy bit blurry, teensy bit less clear, but this is how it's looking so far. And this is the setup. And in a future video that's gonna be coming out soon, I will show you the multiple different ways you can weave these squares together. I'll talk about how I'm weaving them together, but I'll show you the multiple different ways you can weave them together and border the blanket. Okay, to give you all a little bit of an update, I'm currently working on the crown cake in red velvet, and I might have to do another little switcheroo between two of the cakes. Initially, I had this one for the Cyclops Saga, and then when the Ithaca Saga artwork was released, I switched. I put this one, you can start to see the red in there. I put this one as the Ithaca Saga, and then I chose Karen Cloud Cakes in Lava, which you can see. You can't see it great, but it's this cake yarn right here. So I chose that one for Cyclops. But now that I'm going through this, depending on how the red velvet cake goes and depending on how I can lay it out, I might have to put this one back as the Cyclops Saga and then have this one be the Ithaca Saga, just because as I'm going through this one might not have enough red as I was thinking / hoping it would for the Ithaca Saga specifically, and it might be better suited to the one I had originally put it with, the Cyclops Saga. And if this goes the way that I think it will go, I might have like 1 to 3 squares with some red in like the middle row for this section of the blanket, for this little area of the blanket that will specifically represent the Cyclops Saga. Again, this is if it goes based on how I think it will go, and then I'll just have, like I said, that one be for the Ithaca Saga. Now, as for how far I am, I'm not going to lay out the squares again right now just because I'm too lazy to do that. And plus two, like, I don't know what's going where. So I have this one to finish. I have 2 squares fully made. I'm working on the 3rd one. And then I have the Troy Saga done. Not the Cyclops. I have the Ocean Saga done. I have the Circe Saga done. Underworld Saga done. I've started on the Thunder Saga. That one I have like the first square started. And then I have Wisdom, and then Vengeance Saga. Is it Wisdom and then Vengeance? I'll figure it out. And And then I've not started on the Ithaca Saga. Once I am done with either saga that I'm working on, once I'm done with either this one or the Thunder Saga, then that's when I'll start working on the last cake yarn, which is up there. And at this point, I am letting you guys know pretty much as it goes how this is going. And I think I mentioned earlier in the video that I will have a separate video for possible ways to weave this granny square blanket together, because there are a few different ways that you can, one, lay it out and to weave it together. So I want to show you, I'll only be doing it one specific way, but I want to at least visually show the different ways you can do it. So that is going to be in a separate video and not in this video. So just keep an eye out for that. And also too, I am posting this to both the Shanna show and to SC Crochet Studio. So this will be up on the SC Crochet Studio channel. This will be up there closer to when the pattern will be released on Etsy. And then I'm gonna do one more. As for when it'll be up on the Shanna show, it'll just go up when this goes up on the Shanna show. But it might not be close in time to. Also be careful with scissors, you guys. I'm not sure if I pointed that at my face or not, but be careful with scissors. Scissors safety, guys. But as I was saying, I'm not entirely sure how close this will be posted on the Shanna show in relation to when it will be up on Etsy. It may be close, it may not be. We'll just have to see. But either way, the third granny square done. Where's the thingy? Either way, the pattern will be linked in the description of both videos. So just wanted to get that stuff mentioned and out there so that I didn't have to worry about like saying it later or whether or not I had said it. Okay, so this is the end result of the red velvet Caron cake yarn. And I'm still kind of thinking maybe Cyclops Saga, but again, it could work for the Ithaca Saga as well. So for right now, I'm going to stick this where the Cyclops Saga is going in my stack of yarn. Or I should say my stack of granny squares, which is right over here. It'll go in between this one, which is Blueberry Cheesecake, and this one, which is like Ocean Night, I think. So it's going to go in between these two. This is Troy, then it'll be Cyclops, and then Ocean Saga. So it'll go right there for right now. And then once I'm done with the current Cloud Cake and Lava, which is this one, once I'm done with it, then that's when I'll decide finally which one will be for which saga. But either way, if it's for the Cyclops Saga or for the Ithaca Saga, I think this is how the setup will be either way for the granny squares, which I like. And something that I do, especially when the colors in these Caron cakes, when the colors are so vastly different, I do try to break it up a little bit like this, where once I'm going through the weaving process, weaving the squares together, you'll see that some of the Caron cake yarns, the colors aren't so broken up like this, and then some of them like this one are. And again, it's just to kind of make it a little bit more cohesive looking. But this is one of those, you'll see that I did that for the Cersei Saga, which is Ballet Sorbet, Caron Chunky Cakes, and I think I did it for like one or two others. So okay, so slightly different angle, because why not? Essentially, I'm so used to looking straight on because that's where I usually have the setup. But you know, that now that I'm so close to completing this blanket, or at the very least being done with the granny squares, like I'm getting a lot of the nervous excitement, excited nerves, because for me at least, Epic the Musical, the way I describe it to people, the way I talk about it as to why it's essentially had like a chokehold on me, the way I explain it is that Epic the Musical is what preteen teen Shanna needed when the Percy Jackson series was first released, when it was first published. And this isn't anything against that series or Rick Riordan, but like when I was that age, like a lot of my friends really got into it, and ideally it is something that I would have liked, because I love history, I love historical fiction, I love mythology and mythology retellings. So in any other capacity, it's something I probably would have enjoyed. But I remember I tried to read it, I couldn't get into it, and like I said, Epic the Musical is what I needed back then. Mainly because, for me at least, back then, I didn't need a story of their modern kids, their 21st century kids, modern kids. Like, I didn't need that. Like, I didn't need to know that these, like, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids were going on these adventures, like, in the modern world, because it was something mythological. And that is something that I like, seeing the mythological set in our world, but it's like, back then, I wasn't too interested in that, and that wasn't something that like I said, that I feel like I needed, whereas I would have preferred just a retelling or a reimagination of the myths, the original myths, and that's what Epic is. And the Odyssey was always my favorite out of the well-known Greco-Roman epics. So the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Aeneid. The Odyssey was always my favorite. And even when I was like younger, like I said, around that age, like the Odyssey was my favorite. Poseidon was always my favorite god. And I think with me, it's like, we're gonna get weird with this, but like, I have always loved the ocean. I'm scared of waves. I think it's called like chymophobia, like a phobia of waves. CYMO phobia, I think it's called. But I have like, I'm like scared to death of waves, but I love the ocean. I can be in the ocean just fine. I just can't go on from the beach. So I've always loved the ocean. If we're gonna be like weird about this, I am a water sign. I'm not like, I'm into astrology for the shits and giggles of it. So if we're gonna get like astrology weird on it, I'm a Scorpio, I'm a water sign. So there's that to factor in. So Poseidon was always my favorite god. Steven Rodriguez Jr. as Poseidon was like perfect. What did I just do? Okay, do I need to do... Okay, there we go. So Epic the Musical, like, I think the casting in Epic is on point too. Like, it's perfect. So yeah, just getting back on topic to what I was saying at the beginning of this clip, the fact that I'm so close to being done with this blanket. This is only like the first granny square I'm making in the cloud cakes in lava, and then I have one done. I have this cloud cake, and then I have the other cloud cake in sunflower to do. And I have one square of that made, and I'm on my second one. But just the fact that I'm almost done with the squares, it's giving me that excited nerves, that nervous excitement. And also something I want to say is that if you purchase the pattern, what I'm doing for this blanket is I'm doing a 9 by 9 square, 9 by 9? Yeah, a 9 by 9 square blanket. And each section of, I have like each saga represented by 9 squares each, and it's like 3 by 3 for each different type of yarn. It'll make sense in the weaving together video and when I'm showing the setup for that in this video, but you don't have to do it that way. You can make it smaller, you can make it bigger, you can do fewer granny squares. I would, if you want to go for like that square look, like how I'm doing it, I would only recommend going as low as 4 granny squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would be like a 6 by 6 blanket. I wouldn't recommend going, and that's if you want the square look of it. You can do a 1 by 1, but that won't be like big enough, or not a 1 by 1, but you can do a single square for each, like if you want to do like a baby blanket or a small blanket. But again, that would be tiny because these granny squares are like 6.5, and that would be like a 3 by 3 blanket, a 3 square by 3 square. So that's why I would recommend going no fewer than 4 granny squares per yarn type. And again, you can always go more, but again, try to keep it like an even number to have a square look. Again, if that's something that you want with your blanket. So 2 by 2 for the number of squares for each. So like 4 in total. So 2 by 2, you could do 3 by 3 like what I'm doing. You could do 4 by 4, 5 by 5. And I'll explain this again when I have like a better visual to show you. But you don't have to do exactly 3 like I'm doing. The reason why I personally did 3 was to try to get the blanket done quickly so I could have the pattern and get the pattern out to you. But there are multiple different ways to set this blanket up, like you'll see in the weaving the granny squares together video, and the possibilities you can do. So I just wanted to get that out of the way.